there's an interesting thing here, because if you look at the world of literature, there are so many other books that have a similar theme to Anthem. I forgot the name of, I think he was a Russian writer. He wrote a book called We. I think his name is Zamyatin, but I forgot exactly his full name. But he talked about that. He talked about a world without the I. But he couldn't make it captivating, and he couldn't reach the conclusion that Ayn Rand reached, which is a world like that is impossible, and you're not a human. You don't have an I if you live in a collective world.
Yeah.
You're just going to lose it completely.
Yeah.
As opposed to 1984, George Orwell. I think one of his big mistakes is that he showed you that in such a world, there can be so many technology and so many development, and you can still live under dictatorship. But her point is you can't.
Yeah.
You won't be a human being. You're going to be something else.
And I think what I wanted to talk about today is this crisis that I feel in my country, and maybe you feel it. You live in Dubai, but
yeah.
you spend a tremendous amount of time traveling the world, speaking to people. In my country, I feel like there's a crisis of these two things: not being able to say I in the fullest sense, and not being able to say no when someone wants to trade your integrity for money or opportunity or prestige. All of these temptations, I think, these aren't just temptations in Washington, D.C. These are the things that surround all of us. And I think a lot of young people are struggling for meaning. They're struggling for purpose. There was a time when purpose was kind of foisted upon you by necessity, scarcity. How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to put a roof over my head? How am I going to take care of my family? Those are still things we all worry about, but that is not the existential definition of surviving today. Capitalism has made us fat and happy.
Yeah.
And that's in itself created a bit of a crisis.
Yeah. But it's very hard what you're saying for most people to understand. It's very essentialized. You're saying there are two problems. The first one is not being able to say I, and the second, not being able to say no. And I think this needs a lot of explanation, even though I see it as a key problem. But if I want to unpack it a little bit, I would say that it's either that they can't say I, they don't really understand the meaning of individual, being an individual and living as an individual. But also, it's about saying I in the wrong way, right? It's I did this and I did that, and we see it a lot in politics. So I see that dichotomy, if I may, between these two. And the no, you can't say no if you don't have a guiding principle, right? And I think that's what's happening a lot in the US, that there is, specifically politically, there's no guiding principle. If you just look at foreign policy, there's no principle to say yes or no, right? And this makes it harder for the young people growing up there to have some kind of a hero, or heroic ideal, let us say, to emulate, or to say, that's inspiring. I want to follow or learn how to think about these kind of guiding principles. So, but this needs a lot of unpacking.